the fact that this is a street fight, they're able to use any weapon they want to with everything that has led up to this point. It's going to be brutal, and I'm just rooting for Dominic. I really, really want him to win. Whether he wins, obviously, we don't know, but he's a fan favorite. He has a lot of people in his corner. It would be really sad if he didn't win this, and then we'd have to figure out, well, where do they go to from here? But I definitely agree with Joe. They've built this up so much. They've built up Dominic so much. This is his win. This is his night. So it's just going to be a special match.
Definitely be a special match, but a match that won't be special, that I have no interest in whatsoever, do not care. And if it was on TV, I'd fast forward through it like I do every time they have a segment with these two. Randy Orton taking on Drew McIntyre. This is, every time Orton's in a WWE Championship match at SummerSlam, you look back, the match against Lesnar they had at SummerSlam, his horror match with Bray Wyatt, it's just boring. I don't like it. But Randy Orton, I don't see how he's losing this match. He's going to win, and they'll probably have him hold the belt until Edge can come back and take the title. Not an order like that. But, Candace, what do you think is going to play out here with the WWE Championship match?
Yeah, I'm excited for this match. Randy Orton, he's a legend. He's one of the best in WWE in general. And we saw what happened with him and Ric Flair recently. People are so invested in this, I feel, and Randy has to win. I really can't see it otherwise, but you never know. But Randy, he has to win. He's just such a heel. He's a complete heel, and this is. I think this is going to be one of the better matches of the night as well. That's just my opinion, but I feel like he has to win. I really don't. If Drew wins, I really don't see what could happen at that point. And if he should win, I don't even think I would be invested. I want to see Randy win because I'm more invested in seeing what comes of that if he should. So that's what I think.
I think Bobby Lashley should have beat Drew McIntyre. I think that's what should happen. But Drew McIntyre is getting the big push. Joe, I know you like Drew, you like Randy Orton. What do you think is going to play out in this match?
So I think Randy's going to win, and I think Ric Flair is going to double-cross everybody and help Randy win. I think that segment a couple weeks ago that they did, there was a very specific reason why the lights went out at the moment where it did.
Because it was
so
Retribution.
If you realize that, yes, because of Retribution, and we'll get to that a little bit. That there's a possibility that they could interfere in this match too on Randy's behalf, but. So obviously they did the segment this Monday with Shawn Michaels, and you saw that.
Shawn Michaels had no business talking to Randy Orton. Game. They have Randy Orton and Shawn Michaels have no relationship on air or whatsoever. Oh, we're going to send Shawn out there to talk some sense into Randy. That made no sense at all, but whatever. So we're all in agreement Randy Orton's going to win, and he's probably going to hold the title until Edge comes back and wins the Rumble and then beats Randy Orton at WrestleMania. So we'll see where that goes. Randy Orton, as Candace pointed out, is a legend. He's also the legend killer, so we'll see if he ends up killing himself with his WWE title run and see if the fans get unrestful with him. The other match here, which, Joe, I kind of said this was going to happen, dating back a little bit, that is Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, taking on Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman got a nice haircut, but unfortunately, his title run is coming to an end. Very lackluster here. I think he defended it once. He beat Bray Wyatt. Now I think Bray Wyatt's going to win, and Bray Wyatt's going to hold the belt, and he's either going to end up dropping it to Roman Reigns, or he's going to drop it to Goldberg again, and then Goldberg will drop it to Roman Reigns, because Goldberg is actually under contract for 2 more years, and he has just 2 dates per year. Interesting note there. But yeah, I think Joe, I think Bray Wyatt's going to win. He is favored in this match. How do you see the Universal title match shaking out now that Braun, by the way, is not the monster among men, he's just the monster?
Yeah, this is interesting. So I know this isn't really your cup of tea. I know you're not really a huge Wyatt guy. To me, I like the horror movie aspects of this. I think Braun Strowman, the biggest thing that he was missing over the course of the past couple of years was a true rival. I think his 2 best rivals in WWE have been Roman Reigns and Bray Wyatt. And I think Bray, again, he's not really your cup of tea, but he's pretty known for having a creative well like mine. I think he's getting the most out of the Braun Strowman character. And this story, more so, I mean, yes, the Universal Championship is involved, but this is much more of a story-driven feud as opposed to just going after the belt itself. And a couple weeks ago, I mentioned that the Alexa Bliss inclusion in the storyline has actually been a really, really great wrinkle. I think it's gotten the most out of her character. I think it's been refreshing, I think, for the three of them. So I do agree here. I think Bray is going to win the title, but I think the ramifications after this match are going to be interesting because last week on SmackDown, it was The Fiend who made the save against Alexa, and there was clearly some like weird laughing going on where you didn't know if The Fiend was doing it to play into Braun's hands or if he actually wanted to do it. And I think Braun kind of casting Alexa to the side, I didn't anticipate that or expect that coming. I thought they were actually going to pair them both together, so that was a shock to me. So I'm interested in what Candace thinks about this because I'm curious to see how she feels about the Alexa inclusion and this match in general. But I'm going to pick Bray too.
Yeah, we're pretty much on the same wavelength about that. I am way more intrigued to see where they're going with this Bray Wyatt and Alexa Bliss storyline. I do believe as well that Bray is going to win this. But ever since we saw the inclusion of Alexa, which was a real big swerve going into everything, I just am wondering what's happening. They're planning something big. There's no question about that. Something big is going to happen. And perhaps, Alexa is going to come out on SummerSlam in a whole new look and teaming up with Bray. Of course, Bray is winning this. He has to win this. I'm not, I like Braun, but I think it's just more exciting to have Bray win this, considering everything that's went down prior. But yeah, I think it's going to be more attuned to something happening with him and Alexa. I just have a feeling that there's going to be some big reveal and everyone's just going to be like, okay, well, we kind of saw that coming, but we really didn't see it taking this route. But Bray, he has to win this. And I just believe, 100% he's going to.
So if you look at the history of the Fiend's opponents, you would think after this match, Strowman's going to be a heel because that's what always happens. But maybe right. Strowman loses because either one, he's distracted by Alexa, who just trying to make him lose, or number two, Bray Wyatt pulls a page out of the Vince Russo playbook and puts Alexa Bliss on a forklift or something, and Braun goes to save her, and then that's the end. So something like that might happen. Now, my ideal ending here is, the Fiend wins. Retribution comes out, beats the crap out of him, and Otis cashes in, and he is the new Universal Champion. But I don't think it's going to happen, because Otis needs to cash in front of fans. I mean, if you look back at, you said it many times on our show, Joe, when he kissed Mandy, if that was in front of 90,000 people, that is an all-time WrestleMania moment. So him cashing in would also be big time in front of fans. We'll see what happens there. Now, here we go as far as I consider the main event. It's two matches. The biggest storyline here, Joe. You got Sasha versus Asuka. Mm-hmm. Bayley versus Asuka. Are we going to see Asuka 2 belts? Or are we going to continue to see Sasha 2 belts? Are we going to continue to see Bayley 2 belts? And who's winning these matches? And do we ultimately get Sasha all belts, which is what we want to see down the road? So, Joe, lots to unpack here.
I really want to see Sasha.
I
really want to see Sasha all belts. I don't think it's going to happen, though. So I think Sasha and Bayley, more so than anybody else, have been the two standout stars right now since the whole COVID thing started and they had to run shows at the Performance Center. It's undeniable that these two have been the stars of the show. They're on Raw and they're on SmackDown. They're pulling double duty, sometimes triple duty every week. Mm-hmm. They look like absolute stars, and Bayley more so than anything. I never thought she would make it work as a heel, and she's been really, really good. As far as the matches, what goes on first will determine what happens in the end. And I think what's going to happen is Sasha is going to fight Asuka first, and I think Asuka's going to win the title. Then I think Bayley's going to fight Asuka, and then Sasha's going to help Bayley retain the SmackDown Women's Championship. Because ultimately, I think what's going to happen is we're going to have Sasha and Bayley fight for the SmackDown Women's Championship probably later in the year, or they're going to build it until WrestleMania, but it's very obvious they're on a collision course. They're kind of trying to extend this as long as they can to get as much story out of it as possible. But that's what I think. I think the whole feud between Sasha and Asuka over the past month or so has been really, really great. I think the booking has been excellent. I think Sasha and Bayley, more so than anything, have benefited from like that old school like chicken shit heel booking. I think it's been great. I think, like I said, they're the stars of the show. Candace, I assume that you love Sasha and Bayley as much as we do. Sasha's my girl. Sasha's my favorite.
I don't like Bayley.
I'm sitting here nodding my head like, yes. just vigorously, just sitting here. Everything you're saying, I'm just like, yes, preach. I'm here for it. I mean, I would love more than anything to see Sasha have 2 titles on her strapped. Sasha, Bayley, and Asuka, since the start of this pandemic, have really shown how professional they are. They're complete class acts. They are phenomenally talented. I feel like they've put the company on their backs this whole entire time. There's never a time where I'm watching the 3 of them and I'm thinking I'm going to switch the channel. They are so captivating. And as much as I would love to see Sasha have 2 titles, I also kind of want to see Asuka have 2 titles as well. Asuka's my girl. I mean, I love all 3 of these women so much, but Asuka, I mean, I would really actually like to see her have these 2 titles. Will that happen? I don't think so. I think that if anything, Asuka's going to beat Sasha actually and become the Raw Women's Champion, but I think that Bayley is going to retain. At some point, we're going to see, as you've already mentioned, we're going to see Bayley and Sasha, butt heads. It's just going to happen. When it happens, it could be later down the year, could be early next year, but I feel like it's just going to happen. So the lead up to this point, it's just been so awesome to see them, come together, be heelish. I mean, as you also stated, Bayley, it's just been magical seeing this transformation with her. I never would have predicted it. I seeing the trajectory from where she came from to now who she is and just killing it. It's been awesome. And all 3 of them are phenomenal. But I do think that Asuka's definitely going to win. She's going to, and the Twitterverse will just explode if that happens. But I do also think that Bayley's going to retain this. And there's going to be something that happens between Bayley and Sasha, some type of kernel of them butting heads at some point, which starts with what would happen for SummerSlam. So it's going to be something else. We'll see. It's going to be absolutely something else with those 2 matches.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great storyline, and never count out Charlotte Flair because she'll be back soon. And Ronda Rousey was going to come back, but she didn't come back because there's no fans, which makes sense. So we'll see where all that plays out. But Bayley versus Sasha for a title is where we need to see down the road. I think, Joe, and we won't go too much longer on this, Bayley's going to retain the title here. Sasha probably loses. Bayley holds the title. Sasha's going to win Royal Rumble, and then she's going to go after Bayley a la Dave Bautista against Triple H. And she's going to go to Raw. That's what's going to happen. Yep. Now, real quick here as we come to the end of this awesome episode, as wrestling fans can go on for hours. What happened, Joe? As soon as Raw Underground debuted, you texted me about it, and what did I say? I said we need to see Nia Jax for Shayna Baszler at Raw Underground. We almost saw it. We got a little teaser there. What do you think is happening there with those 2? We've seen them butting some heads in the actual ring, and I don't really understand how they're saying maybe they're trying to tease Shayna as a face there. It doesn't make sense to me. I think clearly Nia Jax is a little more likable than Shayna Baszler. We've seen her have a face from before when she beat Alexa Bliss at WrestleMania. But just your overall thoughts on Raw Underground right now. Dolph Ziggler, he's tapping out the Viking Raiders, which is interesting. But of course, you have the big tall ninja is the security guard for Raw Underground. So hopefully that gets a big push down the road. It's just overall it's interesting. But what are your thoughts right now on Raw Underground and Shayna Baszler? She had her 2 buddies with her and Nia Jax.
Yeah. So again, I agree with you. I don't think Shayna works as a face. I think they're teasing it. The truth of the matter is that Shayna is a good in-ring performer, but her character is just very bland. It's very dry. She definitely needs a little more if she wants to just